Have you ever felt like your internal operating system is just about to crash? Well, today we're going to talk about burnout, but not in the way you're probably used to. We're not talking about weakness or some kind of personal failure. Nope. We're looking at it as a critical system error, one that you can actually diagnose, debug, and rebuild with an architect's precision. So together, let's walk through this blueprint, step by step.
And just a quick heads up before we dive in, this is all for informational purposes. If you really need medical advice or a diagnosis, please make sure you consult with a qualified professional.
So let's get this one thing straight right from the start. Forget everything you've ever been told about just pushing through. A burnout isn't a weakness, it's a critical system error. This idea, it changes the whole game. It's not about you failing the system, it's about the system failing you. It means your internal architecture is just completely overloaded and the wires connecting what you want to do and what you can actually do have been severed.
And that is where you come in. Seriously, from this moment on, you are the architect. Your job is to look at your own blueprint, find the cracks in the foundation, and then design a new, much more resilient version of yourself. And we're not just winging it here, we're going to use some really powerful tools and ideas to make it all happen. Okay, first things first. Before any architect can start rebuilding, they need a really thorough damage report, right? So phase one is all about running that system diagnosis to see exactly where the failures are happening. The first major error we see is what's called interface overload. This is all cognitive. Think of your interface as the screen you see the world through. It's your filter. When it gets overloaded, that filter is just gone. Suddenly, every little thing, a question from a coworker, a notification on your phone, even bright lights, it all feels like a personal attack. And trying to make a simple decision? Forget about it. It feels impossible. Next up, the coherent nexus break. This one is a physical and emotional disconnect. Your heart, your brain, your entire nervous system, they're just not talking to each other anymore. You feel this deep, bone-crushing exhaustion all day long, but the second your head hits the pillow, your mind is off to the races. It's a complete breakdown between needing to rest and actually being able to. And the third warning light? It's a neuro-linguistic shift. This is all about the code your system is running on, your internal self-talk. Your thoughts go from being creative and finding solutions to being cynical, fatalistic. You start hearing words like, I must, I can never, or I just have to survive this. Your whole life starts to feel like one giant obligation. And, this slide just lays it out so perfectly. Look at the difference. An optimal system, it filters things, your mind and body are working together, and your language is creative. The burnout state is the exact opposite. It's overloaded, totally disconnected, and it's running on this cynical survival mode script. Just seeing these signs is the first huge step to taking back control. Okay, so we've run the diagnostics. Now it's time to rebuild. Welcome to phase 2, the 21-day reboot blueprint. And let me be really clear about something. This is not a vacation. This is a deliberate, systematic reboot of your entire operating system.
So let's take a look at the roadmap. It's broken down into 3 really distinct weeks. Week 1 is a total system shutdown. Week 2 is all about debugging your software, finding the bugs. And finally, week 3, that's where we focus on rebuilding that core connection between your mind and your body.
All right, week 1. The goal here is simple. Get your nervous system back to neutral. That means stopping all non-essential input. Seriously, minimal screen time, no news, no drama. Your only task is to exist, not to produce anything. You want to focus on your body with simple breathing exercises, like breathing in for 4 seconds and out for 6, to start repairing that heart-brain connection. Sleep becomes your only priority. That's it.
Now, in week 2, once there's a little more quiet in the system, we can start debugging. You're going to just observe your thoughts with no judgment. Start to identify those energy leaks, the specific relationships, beliefs, or even environments that were just draining your battery. This is all about collecting data. Then you start doing little things, micro actions, like taking a short walk, but with 100% of your attention.
Finally, week 3. This is where we start bringing the power back online, but under very strict new rules. You'll create a physical anchor, something as simple as pressing your thumb and forefinger together during a calm moment, that you can use later when things get stressful. And, most importantly, you're going to apply the 50% rule. And here it is. This is probably the single most important rule of the entire rebuild. The 50% rule means you consciously do only half of what you think you can do. So if you feel like you can walk for 30 minutes, you walk for 15. This isn't about being lazy, not at all. It's about building a deep, sustainable foundation of energy instead of just running on the fumes of adrenaline again. All right, now we have to talk about the most critical part of this entire blueprint. As your architect, I have to warn you about this dangerous illusion that can undo all of your hard work. It's what we call the false positive trap. So I'm going to ask you directly, what do you think is the most dangerous moment in this whole process? I bet it's not what you'd expect. It's this, right here. The most dangerous moment is the first day you wake up and you feel that old spark again, that little bit of energy, that clarity, that drive. And the temptation is to think, yes, I'm back, and immediately jump in and try to make up for lost time. Don't do it. What you're feeling isn't a full structural recovery. It's a temporary surge of dopamine because your system finally has a tiny bit of energy in reserve. And this chart shows you exactly why that's such a trap. Look, if you give in and go right back to 100% capacity, you will burn through the reserves you spent 3 weeks building in maybe 2 days. And that leads to a relapse that is often way deeper and way more severe than the first crash. So all of this brings us to the final phase. This isn't just about recovering. It's about a complete redesign. It's about you fully stepping into your role as the master architect of your own operating system. And this quote right here, this is the single most important rule for your new blueprint. When you feel that energy coming back, your first instinct has to be to use it to build and defend your new boundaries, saying no, protecting your rest, operating at 70%, not to immediately go back to your old ways. This is how you build a solid foundation instead of just another house of cards. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. As the architect of your own system, I want you to look at your life right now. Which specific habit or belief or obligation is the biggest energy drain you have? And more importantly, are you willing to be the one who makes the call to shut it down first?